While I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say maybe part of the charm of the human sniper rifle might be physical, at the end of the day, this still is one of the coolest quirks I think My Hero has shown us. I wasn't sure what I was seeing at first, especially when there's like a hole on the hand and you're ripping your hair out and apparently you got a sniper rifle. But when the whole picture kind of came full circle, I was really impressed with this ability. And honestly, when Hawks tells you if you run into her to run, you very much believe you probably should run. But what an entrance, just casually eating your bento, picking up the phone to call up Butler Alfred, aka All Might, and what happens? Just sniped. That precision, that fear immediately seeps in and you realize if she wanted to, that would have easily been a headshot and he would have died. But the fact that she so precisely hit the phone saying, "Come with me or you will die," what an entrance, man. Now, I do have a full live reaction to today's My Hero episode available on my Patreon, so if you want to see my full uncut thoughts to today's wonderful episode, head on over there and consider supporting, because, yeah, this was definitely a great episode. We have 5 more of this season before we have to say goodbye and wait for season 7. And honestly, the more I see of this arc, the more excited I become. This literally speaks to me on a spiritual level, and just to see this kind of like vigilante arc where, like I keep saying, it makes so much sense. Do you really want to sit around at school learning how to prepare, or do you want to take the fight back to the villains, train your quirk up, understand what you can do, but most importantly, make it so you're not an easy target? Unfortunately for them, they didn't realize our big boy, while escaping from prison, already pretty much predicted he would do exactly that. You have to give it to him. He always has at least 2 plans. He's like, I want it to go this way, but if it goes this way, I'm prepared. And to see how he then basically got the hired gun help right away, I mean, they definitely are on the defense right now, but I like the fact that it's going to be kind of like a teeter-totter of, are they on the offense, are they on the defense, is it kind of a bit of both? Because ultimately, there is a lot of bad people running amok, and what are you going to do other than take the fight back to them? It is nice, though, that rather than just kicking into the episode with a sniper rifle going off, we are seeing that he's doing rather well. We get to see where civilian society's at in terms of, like, the people who are picking up arms, trying to do the job themselves, the general protesters saying, if only you would have done this or that. And we're getting a good idea of what's happening. But I think the start of this episode was hands down the last few minutes, where our sniper girl comes in and just completely steals the show. It's such an interesting ability because when you think about bullets and sniper rifles, like different bullets and different size of the bullets you use for different ideas, and the fact that she can just rip her hair off and craft whatever bullet she needs for that moment, and the fact that it's so precise, like she then like snaps her elbow up and the gun goes away. It just reminds me, I think it was Inuyashiki, where you had the old man in his like transformer arms with the guns and everything. This time just a little more hot than in that anime, but I like the fact that this episode just, it goes from feeling like, yes, things are obviously building up in a dramatic way, but all things considered, Deku feels like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He feels like he understands he can't be in one place for too long. Endeavor and the crew recognize that if they're associated with Deku too long, people will put 2 and 2 together, and then he'll also be more or less targeted by the mobs. But the fact that they just quickly shattered any progress like it felt like we were making into them losing track of where he is, him unable to really run away, and ultimately this girl really making an entrance. And seriously, like that precision, that first strike, had she wanted to kill him, I think it's pretty much guaranteed she could have done that. He didn't know she was there, and the only reason he knew at that moment was because of, well, obviously his phone getting like attached to a wall. You can argue, well, he has his danger sense, he has his spidey sense, but I mean, it didn't kick in until the last moment there. Like, she very much avoided that, and as much as I love seeing him swing around Spider-Man style, or even hell, float and hold an umbrella for a poor girl who's getting tormented by the humans here, I mean, at the end of the day, this episode completely popped off. But I do like the extra details are going about where society's at. Will society ever reach back to normalcy? And Deku basically saying, I'll make sure it happens. At this point, if it does happen, it'll be at the end of the show's run, like when it's officially over, no more seasons, no more movies. Because it really feels like society has broke, and whoever comes out victorious, whether the remaining heroes or the villains, that's what society's going to look like at the end. And it's never going to go back to exactly the way it was before, but probably it should never go back to the exact way. We got to this point because there was obviously flaws in the system, so things have to change, but it's not like it can't be hopeful again in the future. It's it's gonna be a long road to get there. But when you kick the episode off and you see this like 9-foot girl running for her life, and then you have the humans armed and basically saying you're, just basically judging that she's up to no good. And the fact that, like, Deku has to come in and be like, bro, look him. Does she really look like a threat? And then they had the nerve to say, well, it's your fault for looking like that. He just wanted to smack those fools and just say, you know what, get the hell out of my town. But honestly, Deku handled it probably better than I would have. But it's interesting, right? Because seeing just the general negativity of the world right now, not saying that the general civilians, whether they're picking up arms or picking up their protest signs or they're just cowering in fear, they don't have a reason to feel that way. They absolutely do. But you do have to admit, unlike our world where there's so many of these professions where power either goes to people's heads and they use it incorrectly or they fail to save enough people, this is a world where not everyone has superpowers. And even if you do, look at how long it took for society to accept someone like Endeavor as the new #1 hero after All Might had to quit. This isn't a world where just anyone can pick up. If you look at Endeavor as being he wasn't enough, then you have to understand that throwing rocks at him and saying you should have done better, if he ups and quits, you're screwed. Like, I'm not saying I don't understand you could have lost people, you could have had all these negative feelings, but they do need to take a bit of a chill pill and recognize they are literally your only hope right now from not getting completely killed. Not saying I don't see where they're coming from, they just definitely are overreacting in a way that this world can't handle. And I have to hand it to Endeavor, he really is keeping a level head. At face value, when people insult him, attack him, he brushes it off. He knows what he has to do, he doesn't make excuses, he says you're right. But when he's in the Batmobile, man, Best Jeanist' car, it does catch up to him, you can definitely tell, but that hospital scene really picked him up in a way that I wasn't quite expecting. I do gotta make the joke, right? For whatever reason, if Best Jeanist decides that maybe the hero business isn't for him, when they were like throwing cans and rocks and just garbage at him, I have to admit, I just thought to myself, if the hero profession doesn't work out for him, he can make a damn good garbage man, just the way he can so easily and quickly gather up the garbage. You could clean up the streets in a different way rather than just beating up villains and the like. But seriously, I'm loving what they're doing right now. I think the animation is very fun. I think if you look at the previous season when we had a lot more 3D camera work in terms of different characters' abilities, I think that technique is paying off when it comes to Deku when he's like swinging around and doing these different moves we don't really expect. I like the fact that he is so connected with the previous wielders and it feels like we're making progress to unlocking his true potential with his ability. And honestly, it just feels like everything feels like payoff. All the great things we've been building up throughout this season, it's come to my personal most anticipated arc, because even if this is a little mini arc before the next big one, it's hitting all the right spots for me. But that's how I'm feeling anyway. Thoughts and feelings yourself though down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon, and while you're there, you can also get yourself a video shoutout. So today, we got Arthur Cunha, Bake Neko, and Benjamin Margolis. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.